Number 3, my favorite one.
Uh-oh. Oh, let's go.
You've been calling around before the draft, right, just to see what trades would be, and the Chargers tell you they're on the clock at 21. The Chargers, right, division rival, they're like, hey, we really want to get out of this pick. You can have the 21st pick, give us next year's 3rd, and your 2nd, 4th rounder this year. And you're like, holy crap, that is a steal. That's like, we cannot believe it. And we're going to take a good way play of the Chargers because we have this pick.
Oh, man.
So you say, done. We'll figure out later who we're taking. You pull a Carolina Panthers or whatever, right? I'll figure out later, right? So you're at 21. You only gave up a late day 2 pick next year, early day 3 pick this year. And your 3 guys are on the board. Myles Murphy, Darnell Wright, Zay Flowers.
Ooh.
All available with the 21st overall pick. You get just ahead of the Ravens and the Vikings, who probably like Zay, and the Giants, right? You get just ahead of the Vikings and the Ravens, who might like Myles Murphy. You get just ahead of a lot of teams who love to have Darnell Wright be their right tackle. Maddie, I'll let you go first. Of those 3 guys, we're at 21.
Wait, so this one's tricky because this is the first time that I might have to branch away from the board because this is kind of shifted post the KCSN draft guide coming out. Myles Murphy would be the highest graded guy on the board. Some tweaks that I have made to my own personal board since then have adjusted this to where I have Myles Murphy and Zay Flowers pretty much neck and neck here. And I'm looking here, and I've talked about it a few times this offseason. I think the Chiefs can get by with their defensive end room, especially if they're going to bring back a veteran defensive end, such as a Frank Clark or a Carlos Dunlap. Bring back one of those guys, and you have Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu, that veteran, Mike Dana. I don't know if I feel the urge, the need to make sure you draft a defensive end in round 1. Whereas I have a much harder time seeing how this Chiefs current wide receiver group replaces what they lost with Juju Smith-Schuster and McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman got a little bad rap in Kansas City, but he was very effective the way the Chiefs used him. So I'm looking at Zay Flowers. I see a guy that can win short, intermediate, and deep. He can play inside. He can play outside. He can actually be consistent, which is the one thing they don't have. Yes, there's a little bit of overlap with Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. I fully admit that. But at the wide receiver talent, I don't think I can pass up, especially in this class. I'm not as high on the rest of this wide receiver class. I don't think I'm getting another guy that fits what the Chiefs actually need at the position, which is consistency later on. So I would take Zay Flowers.
Before I make my argument, that is the correct answer, especially because I
can make the argument.
Sorry,
Ken. Come on.
Well, sorry, that's the right.
I mean, it's not like Myles Murphy's a hard argument to make here.
It's not, but I'll be honest with you. Part of me is, and I can maybe even bleed a little bit of my argument into why I'll just take Darnell Wright for the sake of it here, even though I do agree Myles Murphy's the best player on the board. I think there's a lot of day 2 Steve Spagnuolo defensive ends, and I think that's the big argument when you're looking at that as well. Is I think there's a bigger drop off with wide receiver, than there is at some of these other 2 positions. But I'll make the argument for Darnell Wright here, because I do think we can get a defensive end, especially since we haven't had to give up a ton of draft capital. We can go get a defensive end in day 2 of this draft, and we can even be a little frisky if we're feeling like it, because we've gotten such great value at 21 and trade up and grab another a better defensive end if we really like it. So I'll make the argument for Darnell Wright, a guy who played next to Trey Smith at Tennessee. So you're getting a guy that's going to plug in right away, have some chemistry already with your right guard. You're getting a plug-and-play right tackle. You're continuing to build the wall around Patrick Mahomes. And you're still going to you've got the flexibility to be able to go get your edge in day 2 of this draft. There's still some guys that, the length, the density, the size, the ability to play the run, obviously maybe a little bit more stiff than some of the guys you want. You're going to find some value in day 2 at the edge position, I think. Go grab your tackle, build that wall for Patrick Mahomes, and I think you've got a guy that's going to step in beautifully for the Chiefs, just with the history with Trey Smith and the fact that this is a really good offensive line already.
Maddie, pretty selfish that I can't make the Zay Flowers argument right now. But
I know
Myles,
it was.
You're going to say Myles Murphy. I'm like, nice. He's going to say that. Ken will do me a solid and pick Darnell. I'll get Zay in it. No, but to make the argument for Myles, which I think is a real interesting one, is that, again, keeping a strength to strength. But also, you guys got Justin Ford at receiver. You're good at receiver now.
Justin Ross?
Justin Ford, Justin Ross.
Myles Murphy's old teammate, Justin Ross?
Yeah, you guys are good. You have Justin Ross. You're fine there. You don't need that. And tackles you can find later. That's easy. You don't need Darnell Wright. But I do think that Myles and Darnell could definitely be on the board in the early 20s, though. I think they're likely to go earlier, but I don't think it's any sort of lock that they'll be in the top 15, 20 picks. Zay, I think, is also unlikely to be there in the 20s too. But man, stealing Zay from the Chargers, idiots.
Yeah. How would the Chargers let that get away? Like, imagine just being the Chargers in that situation, like trading away from I would say any of these kind of top 4 receivers, if you like them at all, just to let the Chiefs take them. Like, whoo, that's one that could pain you for a long time. Like, that's a bold strategy.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts, bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.